Okay, tonight I'm going to get away from some of the really cool PowerShell stuff I've been doing lately, and we're going to talk about a topic that a lot of people really don't like to address. They sure as hell don't like to do it. But we're going to cover documentation tonight. As specifically, we're going to talk about documenting SPs. And I realize a lot of DBAs don't like to do this, and a lot of organizations don't like to pay to have it done. But it's really extremely necessary. And I'm not gonna. I mean, I'll touch on the syntax for leaving comments in SPs, but we're going to talk about more about the types of things that you should be commenting. I've talked to probably a good dozen DBAs about this on this topic on what they like to comment and what they don't like to comment, what they consider important, how much commenting they consider important, and really it's all over the board, right? I mean, so I'm gonna give you my thoughts on commenting SPs, and they encompass a lot of the others as well. But I think I take comments a lot further than a lot of people do, and there's a reason for it. The reason is because I'm a dingbat, and I forget things that are in my code all the time. I don't know how experienced every one of you guys are out there, but I'm sure if you've got any experience at all, you've written an SP with a tricky little piece of logic in it, gone back even 2 weeks later, 2 months later, right? And you couldn't remember why you'd done something the way you'd done it. And if you'd commented it, then you'd be able to go back and see why, and you go, oh yeah, that's right. And it'll get you a lot further, right? So we're going to talk about a couple of these things. Now, rather than waste a lot of time on some other stuff, let's just go ahead and jump right into it and see where that takes us. So I'm going to create an SP right off the bat here. I'm just going to say create procedure SP1, right? SP1. So then I'll say as select at server name. We don't really care what this SP says, what this SP does. We're just more concerned with commenting it, right? So there's not really a lot here. We don't really care about, again, I'm not going to make sure this SP compiles. And I didn't really feel like going and digging out a complicated SP and talk you through the logic and everything, right? So one of the first things that you're going to do is you're going to do a comment block just like that. So now you obviously want to put, now I've seen this a lot of times. I've seen a lot of people put the name of the SP in there. Well, the name of the SP is up here. You don't have to put the name in here, right? But it is good to have a nice header up there, right? Created by create date purpose call. So created by is pretty easy, right? We've got let's see, what is today's date? So 9/20/2008. Purpose SP selects the server name. Now call, this is something that a lot of people leave out, and I think it's absolutely essential, especially when trying to troubleshoot problems. It's essential. You'd say something like, this SP is called from the intranet server name.aspx page, right? You give it something like that, right? Maybe even something like, it is called on demand whenever the page loads, right? Or you would say something like, it's called from SRS and is scheduled once a day, or is called from SIS, from this report in SIS. Basically, not basically, completely, you want to know what process is using this SP. Where is this SP being called from? How often is it being called, give or take, right? You know, stuff like that. So that's, a very important part, because, how many times have you, opened up and seen a list of 3,000 SPs and looked in there and looked inside of each one of them and said, wow, they're selecting this data. Why on earth would we want this data? Or how often does this get called? Or anything like that, right? So, it's really kind of important to know these things, especially not only for you, because you may not have this knowledge. You may write this SP now, but in 6 months you may, move on to other projects, and you may not have this knowledge anymore when you go back and look at it if there's a problem. So, just a simple line up there that says where it's called from, it can do wonders for going back and trying to figure out what something's doing. Piecing back together an application, or tracing a problem back to its roots. So, don't leave out this call section right here. It's so valuable. I can't count the number of times since I've started doing this that it's really helped me when I had problems, or if I want to change the SP, I need to know what on the front end to go and change. And, so if I need to add a parameter or something, then this tells me what parameters to add, right? So a lot of times in SPs, one of the first things that you do is you start declaring variables, right? Declare, my date. And, var, yep, that's right, var1. And then, this is one of my favorites, at I, right? And, what's another one? Let's say at today, right? It doesn't really matter. So one of the things I see, one of the things I've seen a lot, especially looking over other people's code, is I'll see, temp tables and table variables and regular variables, all types of things that are in there that I'm like, why the hell is this in there? I don't understand why they had to, why they used this variable in here, or what this temp table is doing here. I mean, I can see it's holding this result, but why on earth do they need this, right? So there's another section that I like to put in here that I call conventions. And conventions simply explains all of this, right? So at my date, and I'll say the date to pull the data with, right? At var1, that's a good one because it's nice and nondescript, right? And I'll say this is something like the number of customers who don't like pizza. It doesn't really matter what I'm putting here. I, looping var, this is set to 3 because there are only 3 regions, and you want to loop through them, right? So give some kind of knowledge here. And then today, obviously it's a varchar 100 field, so it's like how the customers feel about pizza today. So there you go. You've got the convention. If you have any table vars, any temp tables, anything, any other variables, anything at all here that you need to document that you use, by all means, put it in here. I promise you, you will not only will not only will you be glad you did it, but others will be glad you did it too, because there's no guarantee that you'll be on this project forever, that you'll be at this company forever. I mean, your favorite boss could leave, next month, and the new guy could come in and piss you off, and next thing you know, you're looking for a new job, and the next guy that follows you doesn't have any way of knowing why you put this variable in here or why you set it to 3. Or you may just get promoted or just switch departments or move or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen that would keep you from looking at being the one that looks at this code next time. Maybe there's not a problem. Maybe you just need to change it a little bit, right? So, and look at the I variable. That looping var. It's set to 3 because there are only 3 regions and you want to loop through them. Okay. That is absolutely beautiful, because that gets into what we call the tribal knowledge, right? Every company has what's known as tribal knowledge, and that's documentation or metadata, knowledge about the company and about how things work there and about the reason why things are done the way they're done, that aren't documented anywhere. Just the people that have been there the longest know this stuff. My current gig is a very, very good example of that. The DBA I followed, who was still at the company when I came on, he just moved to a different position. He had been there for 7 years. And so he had the tribal knowledge of why we were doing everything the way we were doing it, all the ins and outs of what it took to do it, why they chose that method and everything. And it was simply invaluable to understanding all of these processes when I came in here. And the next DBA may not be as may not be as fortunate to have somebody still in house, right? And okay, and you look at these things now. Also, there's one more thing, because I want to start another topic here. Let's talk about inline comments. Okay, these are just header comments so far, things that get you and your successors kind of up to speed a little bit quicker. Okay, you'll also have a little history section up here, right? So you'll have a change history here. So you'll say like 1/1/2009. You'll just say or let's say added var to control pizza toppings, right? And then sign it. So people can see a short history of things that have been done. Everybody does that a little bit differently. Some people put them in line, some people put them up at the top of history. I personally like to put them up at the top of history, but that's just so that you can see what's been done and when's been done. And all this is on the honor system, right? I mean, somebody could come in here and make a change to this SP and not add anything to the history section, and you wouldn't ever be the wiser. So it's really kind of on the honor system. Well, let's talk about inline comments for a minute. Let me scroll down here and just say, now this is going to be a ridiculous query, so don't expect this to make sense, but I'm going to say select my name, add at server name, police date, from today's table, where my name and hello. Okay. So it doesn't really matter what this is. Let's pretend this is a really long, big query that is kind of hard to understand, or maybe let's assume that it's got a join and an outer join, or some kind of thing that made you choose the particular query that you chose, right? Inline comments are fabulous for this kind of thing, and it's kind of alluded to up here, right? But let's say here, a lot of people will say, they'll do something like not select, they'll say get my info. And that's what they call a comment, is get my info. That doesn't tell me anything. Especially, and it won't tell you anything. If you're the developer that wrote this, it won't tell you anything in 6 weeks. Okay? Get my info tells me nothing. Okay? You can start off with get my info, right? But then you really should move on. I mean, you should make this a complete comment. You know, say something like, this info is important because of this, that, or the other. You also say this has to be an outer join because I not only want to get my info, but also the info of those around me who don't have a police date, right? Whatever. But explain yourself a little bit, okay? I have written so much code that I have gone back and not understood later because, you know, why did I use a 3 here? Why did I choose to do this instead of that? Why does this have to be in a temp table? You know, if you pop out to the command shell, you know, for something, why did I have to use the command shell? You know, why am I deleting this data? Why am I separating this into this? You know, anything that helps people, any decision process that you had to make in the SP, any decision process about why you did something the way you did it, or 2 paths that go down, right? If you've got a case statement, or if you've got an if statement that branches the SP in some way, explain what the branch is for, because it's obvious to you, but it's not obvious to everybody, and everybody isn't as skilled at reading T-SQL code as the person who wrote it, or as everybody else. And, you know, maybe the guy that's looking at this next isn't as good at T-SQL as you are. You know, maybe he's just not as good a coder, and maybe he needs that extra help. But this is some more of that tribal knowledge, right? I had to do this, you know, I had to put this statement in here because, you know, we're getting this feed from here, and it only comes in once a month. And, you know, if I didn't put this in here, then it would check for it every time then it would try to find it every time the SP was run, and it's not going to be there, and it'll give us bad data, or it'll fail or something, right? So, you know, I mean, stuff like that, that's stuff that people really need to know, and stuff that you really need to know in 6 weeks when you go back and look at this again. And maybe, you know, maybe your thought process was, or better yet, you know, maybe there was something in your way, right? Let's go back to that previous example. This particular line is in here because we only get this feed refreshed once a month, so this keeps us from trying to pull that data again and again and again. So I, you know, if this value exists, then I go down this way. If this value doesn't exist, then I go down this way. Well, you know, in 2 months, maybe that changes. Maybe you start getting the feed every week or every day, right? And this line isn't necessary anymore. Maybe this branch isn't necessary anymore. It's become obsolete now because you're getting the data all the time. So, you know, that's an easy way to go back and say, oh, well, I did this because of that, but that condition doesn't exist anymore, so I can change it now, right? Or maybe, you know, somebody who's more skilled than you, or at least has different experiences, comes in afterwards and looks at this SP, sees the reasoning behind why you did something, and says, oh, wait a minute, this could be done much better like this. And they're able to do that because they see the decision process that you made. And it's that tribal knowledge, again, that helps people when it comes to commenting. You know, when it comes to looking at your code, you need to code like the person doesn't know what's going on. You know, code this SP like you have like you're trying to explain it to somebody that doesn't know what's going on. You're training your replacement, right? Because your replacement, and I say this again and again because it's so true, your replacement could be you. In 6 months, when you come back and look at this, you're not going to be as up on the specifics of this code as you were when you wrote it. And you need to leave yourself some notes. Be nice to yourself, right? It's like Bill and Ted's, right? Everybody saw Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, right? They went, they went back in time, but they also went to the future, and they came back and they talked to themselves and told themselves that some really cool stuff was coming up, and to listen to this guy Rufus, and he's gonna, he's never gonna steer you wrong. Just listen to Rufus and do what he says. And they listen to themselves, because why would we lie to ourselves, right? So this is the same kind of thing. Be nice to yourself, and this is a way of stepping into the future. This is a way from stepping back from the future and telling your previous self what he needs to know to do this. So you're going to step into the future, and you're going to open up the history book for your future self, and you're going to tell your future self what he needs to know to troubleshoot this code or to rewrite this procedure, right? Maybe you'll have knowledge in 6 months that you didn't have now, and you'll go back and look at this and go, wait a minute, why did I do it this way? I mean, just 100 reasons why you need to comment at this level. And I've seen managers who insisted on pulling all of these types of comments out of SPs and putting them in single documentation, like in Word docs, and posting them up on like a SharePoint or something. And that's ridiculous. There's no reason for that kind of thing. There's no reason that can't be commented here in the code, because this is where this kind of documentation belongs, where it's needed. It belongs where it's needed. For one thing, a new guy coming in, may not even know that other documentation exists. And this is easy, right? I mean, this is just a few lines of code. But if you get, an SP that's got just hundreds of lines of code, it's very hard to tie that into the documentation on the other side. You're going to have just a list of you're going to have a list of comments, and if somebody comes in and puts a couple spaces in here, then those documents go out the window. If somebody adds something to the SP that increases it by 10 lines, and you can't go by line numbers in the documentation, so it's impossible to keep up external documentation like that. This documentation belongs in the code that it's tied to. Period. That's all there is to it. Don't put this. You can document stuff out externally to SPs if you want, but this type of tribal knowledge code, these types of tribal knowledge comments belong in code. Okay, and that's really all I have to say about that. Just like I said, just be nice to yourself, be nice to the other people around you, and just realize, I mean, really, really let it sink in, that if you're doing something for a specific reason, comment it. Let yourself know what that is. You will thank yourself. It will increase tenfold your effectiveness when you go back to look at this in the future. You will be able to get back up to speed, let's go ahead and say it, lickety-split. And you'll be able to solve problems. You'll be able to figure out what's going on in the SP, and that's really what's important, is figuring out what's going on in the SP and why. We've all looked at code and said, why the hell did they do this? If you're converting something, if you're converting to a different data type, just say why you're converting to this data type. I'm converting because of this. And if you're converting a couple different, if you're converting to a couple different data types, obviously explain, you had to do this because of this, you had to do that because of that, because, in 6 months your head may not be where it is today, and you may not be able to figure out why you had to go through two different conversions to get what you wanted. But if you comment it here, you'll go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, and then you'll just move on, and then you'll move on to the next comment, and the next comment, and the next comment. I mean, I'll write paragraphs, and entire 1 and 2 paragraph comments for a single little line of code like this, because I want to explain exactly what I was doing and why I was doing, if it's not completely obvious, right? And everything doesn't warrant that, but use your best judgment. If it's something that that you think you may not understand in 6 months, go ahead and write it down. And like I said, the rule of thumb in here, the rule of thumb is act like you're training your replacement. If there were somebody sitting next to you and you had to explain this SP to them so they could support it, say you just wrote this SP and you're handing it off to a support person who's now going to have to support it and know everything about it so that he can do a good job supporting it. What would you tell him about this SP if he were sitting right beside you? What do you think would be the important aspects that he would need to know? That's what you should comment. Okay? Anyway, so go ahead and start commenting your SPs and make this as close to department policy as you can. Okay? Do your best. You will be rewarded if you do this. I promise you. You will be rewarded. Make this, come up with some kind of template, make it policy, and stick to it. And I promise you, you will not regret it. So anyway, that's all I got on tribal knowledge commenting. I hope somebody gets something out of this. I think it's a topic that gets really underspoken a lot. Not many people talk about this kind of thing. And I just wanted to throw that out there for somebody, because I know comments are very underutilized, and not many people take the time to teach coders what they should and shouldn't be commenting. So anyway, good luck.